Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Strickland. I'm your host Shwin and Stacy. In this episode 579, I am joined, as always, by my co-host Stacy. That is at StacyPan89 on Twitter. Stacy, how are you doing on this Monday evening?
It's Monday afternoon for me, but it's pretty beautiful out here. So brackets looking good. Knicks just won. Can't complain.
Yes, all things are right in the sports universe for now. We're going to talk about the Knicks. We'll talk about the week they had and what lies ahead. But before we do that, this is your twice-weekly reminder that the Strickland has a Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/thestrickland. If you subscribe to the $6 tier, that gets you access to Pod Strickland, the pod that I host every Friday at the Press. You also get access to the Discord where you can converse with other patrons as well as the site staff. There's also a $9 tier where you get access to even more podcasts like Strictly NFL and pod that I host with YC called Strick and Roll. And if enough people sign up for those tiers, I will never have to do this, which will be good for all the listeners as well as myself. Also, thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel. FanDuel is you covered for all of your sports betting needs. NCAA tournament, NBA regular season. If you're looking ahead to the playoffs, if you want to play some last-minute futures, they have you covered for all of it. Okay, well, the Knicks are 47-25. They have won, I want to say, 6 in a row. Yes, 6 in a row. They're doing well by every objective measure, and yet amidst the 6-game winning streak, there is still some trepidation over their performances, their inconsistencies, at least perceived inconsistencies, along with, simply the ever-present question, and I think the long-standing concern over the starting lineup and its performance or lack thereof. Which, look, we've talked about that extensively. I don't know that anybody. I don't think anybody can cover any new ground on the starting lineup, whoever it is, because it's been talked to death. We've watched it all for 2 years. I don't know what else there's to say about it. It is what it is. They will have good games. They'll have bad games. And in the wash, they will be slightly above average, whatever you want to do with that number. But the overall team is very good. They are seeming to round into form. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I think the good things that are happening are that Mitchell Robinson and Karl-Anthony Towns look like they are in the best form they've been in all year. They are playing now consistently, not just obviously manning all the center minutes, but we're consistently seeing them play together and do so effectively, which is good to see. That's one of the main curveballs the Knicks have heading into the playoffs. Mikal Bridges still struggling a bit with his shot, but you got to like where the defense is. Mike Brown said it best, talking about his track record and why that's the reason it gives him belief that Mikal Bridges will turn it around. I tend to agree with him. Not that it's not frustrating in the moment. I mean, it's extremely frustrating in real time when he's struggling the way he has at points during the last couple months. But you suspect that much like the start of the season was amazing, there will be an uptick for him, hopefully soon. And hopefully one that lasts through the playoffs. That would be fantastic. But Jalen Brunson, he's been very up and down, especially since the Sacramento Kings game where he tweaked his ankle and left the game early. You would like to see him be able to string together some strong performances prior to the playoffs. And look, the Knicks are going to have, and he's going to have, plenty of opportunities here because the Knicks schedule, it's not a walk in the park. Look, they say what you want about the Pelicans. They've been playing a lot better lately. That's the next game on Tuesday. But even if you don't consider them much of a challenge, there's the remaining schedule after that. They go to Charlotte. They go to Oklahoma City. They go to Houston. That's 3 games on the road against quality opponents. And then they go to Memphis, not a quality opponent, at least not at this stage in the season, but on the road. So that's a 4-game road trip they have. And then after that, you get a cupcake at home against the Bulls, although the Bulls have been always annoying to the Knicks for whatever reason. And then you close the season with, I would say, I'm not going to call it murderer's row, but not an easy set of games here. You go to Atlanta, you get Boston at home, a game that could have major implications on playoff seeding, division titles, all those things. And then they get the Raptors at home. This will be the 5th time they play the Raptors this season, which is funny to me, I guess. And then they get the Hornets to close out the season at home. So, if you just count that out, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of your remaining 10 games are against teams that are at minimum in the play-in and almost all very likely or almost dead certain to be in the playoffs. So the Knicks, they are obviously you win 6 in a row. I don't care who you beat. You're probably doing something right, but they have stiffer challenges in their immediate future. And as good as they have been at times during this 6-game winning streak, we've also obviously seen games where they really, really struggled, like the fucking game on Friday against the Nets, which was, just a miserable experience throughout. And yesterday was a nice just take care of business and, get the hell home against Washington, just a complete destruction of the Wizards. But, we want to see the offense get back into kind of the best version of itself where they're frequently moving, they're frequently getting into multiple actions. Brunson's getting on and off the ball frequently. All those things are things you would like to see. Mike Brown even referenced yesterday that, even though they scored 145, he would have liked them to put up a few more threes because they want to get up around 40 threes a game. I agree with him. There's been a little bit of a dip there lately, so you want to see that tick up going into the postseason. But hey, look, if you're of the belief that, iron sharpens iron and you need to be sharp going into the playoffs, this closing stretch of games is good for the Knicks because they're going to be challenged in most of these games, and they're going to have to, maybe not play the best version, not be the best version of themselves, but they've got to be more consistent than they have been lately. And, without that they will not have the success that we hope for them to have, not just in this stretch, but also in the playoffs. So, this kind of stretch of little games against bad teams was nice and it was fun. And I think Mike Brown took advantage of it in some ways. But, now we're getting to, more serious business. And I expect there to be differences in how he's coaching those games. I would expect there to be maybe more. I think you'll have a clearer idea of what the playoff rotation looks like. And then look, the biggest thing, aside from, Brunson and getting Brunson and McCall going, I would say the biggest thing is, and we don't have a timeline on it. We don't know when or if or what's going on, but Deuce McBride is back on the floor. He's taking contact at work. He's going through drills. They need to work him back too, because he's obviously a key piece of the rotation, and as good as the contributions have been at times from Landry Shamet, from guys like Tyler Kolek, who stepped in garbage time yesterday and had himself a hell of a little cameo. Jordan Clarkson, who has kind of, I don't know, I'm going to pump the brakes on saying that he's reinvented himself as a defender, because I still think his defense is a lot more hustle and bustle than it is effective. You get all these contributions from these guys off the bench, Shaman also. But Deuce I think he's a different caliber of player to those guys. I think he's more crucial to the Knicks' hopes and aspirations to, get to an NBA Finals, win an NBA Finals. So seeing how they work him back in this closing stretch will be interesting. But I guess we can just start with, what did you think of the week that was, the winning streak the Knicks are on? And, do you have concerns, or do you kind of think some of this is, you have a really good team that is slightly bored maybe by the level of opposition, and at times that manifests in bad habits, bad tendencies, um, playing themselves out on the court.
Yeah, it's very much the latter. I want to preface this by saying, anyone who's concerned, I'm not shitting on you. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to be. I'm just not there. Through all of it, they've had the top defense and the sixth best offense in the last, month? More than a month now. Pretty substantial size. The Nets game was a travesty. They played like shit. They also didn't care. I don't think Cat fears physicality. I just don't think he gives a shit about Josh Minot. Or how do you say it? Minot?
Minnow is good
Minotita?
because it implies that he's not a threat.
Minotita. So yeah, like
Minotita.
Minotaka. Minotata. So yeah, like yeah, that was an embarrassing performance. They've had a few this year. They've been winning. They're a half game behind Boston. That has like what I care about is, can you beat Detroit? Can you beat Cleveland? Can you beat Boston in the playoffs? Can you beat Oklahoma City? Can you beat Oklahoma City? Can you beat Denver? Can you beat? None of these games is going to tell me anything about that, and they know it too. And like I know it's not to make an excuse, right? Yeah, in a perfect world, they should be taking every opportunity they can to sharpen up. In practice, they've had that for years. I think Brown has experimented more, but the guys haven't committed every single way the same way that you might want them to. But they're also. I mean, we don't want to risk injuries. We're trying to get to the playoffs. So I'm not telling people who are frustrated or have concerns. I think like if you come to me with concerns that are systemic, like no, this team exposed something that like other really good teams will take way more advantage of. I'm interested in those kind of concerns, but I haven't seen it. If the concern is they haven't been showing up every night and there's up and down, it's tough for me to get worried about that. And then the other thing is, yeah, the lineups. They're going to, at some point, even without the starters, at some point they're going to have to play lineups that that don't fit. That seems to be kind of a weird idiosyncrasy of this team. The starting lineup we've talked about a lot as well. But all I can say is I think it's tough for me to take it seriously when you're like, look how inconsistent they are. But also they've been arguably one of the 2 or 3 best teams in basketball over the last month or two. And yeah, the schedule has been soft. I'll get into that in a second because I think that I'll get into that in a second. But they've played some good teams, and when they've played good teams, they've played them tough. That Oklahoma City loss, and this might sound like super loser energy. I'll get that. But that was one of the more encouraging games of the season for me because that was a team that I thought they'd never get on the floor with or never be able to hang with. They've beaten Boston. They fucking spanked Denver and Philadelphia, and they've taken 2 out of 3 against San Antonio, which could very likely come out of the West. So it's tough for me to say, like, you're like, well, you're complaining, but also last year when they were more consistent, their net ratings, their defense wasn't good. So one, they've been top in defense, which was the main concern coming into the year. They're only 6th in offense. I'm less worried about that. So they've been, so I think that, at that point I would be like, are you, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to play like they played against the Nets in the playoffs? I think we've seen for several years, like they've lost some games that they played poorly in. I can't think of a game in the last 3 years where this team where they just didn't show up. There's been injuries, there's been poor game plans, but lack of effort has not been an issue. So that's why I just can't, like, the starting lineup and kind of those fits, to the extent you think that was the reason for some of the variants. I could buy some of that, and that is something but that's really it. I'm not worried. And I'll say this, Shwin, I know Pelicans are playing better, the Bulls play stuff. I'm not. I think it'll be this, like, to the extent I'm worried about those games is if the Knicks play down again and maybe they drop one. And that'll suck. especially if it costs them the 2 seed. And I get that people are, again, I'm not trying to diminish anyone else's thoughts on this. I just can't get worked up. But I know they're going to come out and play hard in the playoffs. If they lose, it could be because of other things. And you could also say that, well, if you had actually taken all of these games seriously, maybe there's other things you would have figured out that would. I don't think there's things that are going to help them in the playoffs that would have figured out by taking Brooklyn seriously. So that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did not watch the Nets game live. I was more focused on the college games that were going on at the time, but I have watched it since. It was not a great effort. I mean, this is what I think is very weird for this team is like, it was not a great effort, but it felt like their lack of effort was much more palpable on the offensive end of the floor versus the defensive end of the floor, where I actually thought for most of the game they were like not to say they played a perfect game, but like they're pretty like fine. This was not like a night where they were just like, oh, the Nets, like, we're not going to try on defense because we won't need to. Like, no, they were like playing defense pretty well, I thought, from the start of the game. I did not think that was an issue really at all. Like, I mean, again, not to say they were perfect, but I thought effort-wise, energy-wise, defensively, they were fine. It was the offensive end of the floor where you were just like, so many possessions where guys are just standing. Nope, there's nothing happening. Brunson's dribbling the air of the ball, or they're trying to work to get a ball into Cat, and that takes half the shot clock, and they can't do it anyway. So then they have to go into something else. Like, it just felt like they were super slow, lethargic, and lazy, I would say. In some ways, I just thought there were a lot of lazy offensive possessions. And that concerns me. That concerns me far less than if the reverse were true. Like, if they were scoring great, but they were not bothering anything with defense, that would actually bother me a lot more. And we've seen some examples of that, but like, again, they've been the best defense in basketball now for 2 months. Like, that's just a fact. It's an objective fact. For the past 30 games, they've been the best defensive team in basketball. And they've been the best defensive team in basketball over the stretch by like a non-insignificant amount. They have been better than I believe. I think I'll get the exact numbers, but I'm pretty confident the Celtics are second in defensive rating over the last, at least over the next last 30 games. And I mean, I think that should buy them some grace as far as like the fact that they're defending at that level. It makes me feel like their offensive struggles are a little bit less damning. And I do wonder if there's some element of like they actually trust the defense so much at times that they're like, Brunson decides, oh, I'm going to start this game. I'm going to try and get going. Or somebody decides it's my time and it's my time to get touches or whatever. Like, I don't know that's the case, but it's an interesting difference between that versus what we have seen. I would say, I think from what we saw last year, like the struggles last year felt like just not really consistently wanting to give a shit defensively. And it is what it is. Yeah, but since the Knicks have played 30 games since January 19th, this includes that disgusting performance against the Mavericks. So that was the the first game of this run. The Knicks have 105.4 defensive rating that time. Oklahoma City is second, actually, 107.1 defensive rating. Boston is third at 108 defensive rating, and the Spurs are fourth with 108.9 defensive rating. Interestingly enough, the Charlotte Hornets over that time are fifth in the NBA in defensive rating, 109.1. So, this will be an interesting game. This will be a very, very interesting game that they play against the Hornets here on Thursday. But not to get ahead of ourselves here, it's the defense being this good just gives me a lot less concerns about some of the offensive issues we've seen. And I would say a lot of those have to do with guys maybe struggling to catch a rhythm more than it is anything that's actual structural within the offense. Because I think the stuff that Mike Brown has implemented to get guys moving on and off the ball more consistently, to encourage that type of movement, to to create and hunt for threes more frequently. All those things are good. I think you're seeing Karl-Anthony Towns buy into the system, buy into what's being asked of him more than anything, and he's delivering now at a consistent level. Josh Hart's been fantastic, I would say, this year, and obviously, if you hit 9 threes in a row, that helps the cause. OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, up and down players, still doing up and down things. We know what it is. Brunson needs to get his shit together, but even Shamet's not been shooting the ball well, really, at all recently.
I
but
thought Brunson had a really good game yesterday, by the way, too.
He did have a really good game, but I don't. I mean, it's the Wizards, so it's kind of like a lot of guys had really good games yesterday, and I was just kind of like, good. Like, this is what's supposed to happen, and it didn't happen on Friday. And look, let's be fair. But
I think Brunson has been better of late. It's not at his standard, but it's been better than I think when we were really worried. I'm less worried about him than I was maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think I'm still pretty worried about him. But they are, they're playing really well defensively. The offense has moments of greatness still, but there's been more okay average-ish performances lately. But I do think the element of boredom thing is real. I think on Friday against the Nets in particular, I don't think that was just boredom. I think that was also the Nets clearly were out to play that like there was their fucking Super Bowl. Josh Minott, I'm happy that he had the greatest game of his life because he won't have too many more in the NBA. And, they played with a lot of physicality. They played with a lot of effort. I would say that there was some borderline cheap shot, dirty stuff going on with them, but the Knicks did not take the bait, which I think is really good to see. I think there were moments where that could have gotten a lot chippier than it did, and the Knicks didn't let it get to that point. They got the job done. Are you going to tell your kids about this game? No, you're not. You're not going to tell anybody about this game. Actually, you should fucking get a therapist if you tell anybody that you watched this game. But yeah, they got the job done, and it was at least good to see them understand that game sucked and then come out against Washington on Sunday and take care of business. But now that these games are going to be stiffening up here, your competition, I'm actually excited, and I suspect you're going to see the Knicks raise their game in relation to the quality of opponents that they'll be facing. I know that that's not the greatest habit and it's not a habit anybody wants their team to have, but I do think that this late in the season, I'm a little bit more sympathetic to it, especially with a team that's been there, done that in a lot of ways with the regular season. I'm saying, and I think they could use it. I think they need these games. I think they need to be pushed. They need to be tested against the best teams. And these games will do that. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for it. I know that you mentioned the Pelicans, and I agree. I'm not saying here oh man, the Pelicans, watch out. But they have been playing better recently. And if the Knicks come out with one of their, efforts where they're just hanging out for the first quarter, that's not a place you want to be. This team has been, as in the Pelicans, they've been really good for a decent amount of time here now. And they have nothing to play for, but they also can't tank because they don't have their pick. So, it'll be interesting to see how these teams match up and how they perform. Over the last 15 games, just an example, the Pelicans are 10th in the league in net rating. They have a plus 5.3 net rating. Some of the teams are better than in that time span. The Clippers, the Cavaliers, the Magic, the Raptors, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Suns, the Blazers, the Timberwolves. All those teams are very likely to at least be in the play-in, if not the playoff. So, don't take the opponent lightly, but the Knicks should be taking care of business against this team. But in some ways, it's probably a good warm-up, right? It's good to have this team before you play a team like Charlotte, before you play an OKC, because God knows, for whatever you want to say about the teams the Knicks have been facing, they are not even really competing or have a desire to compete or care to compete at this moment in time. So I think this will be a nice matchup for the Knicks tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, again, they play up and down to their opponent. I think that's been mostly the case, especially of late. People, we'll see what happens with Detroit if we face them. Obviously didn't show up for those games. Had one against Cleveland, but that was also weird. I think both you and I thought that was just a weird game. For the most part, they've showed up against top competition and they've played down to, for some of these games. Is that right? Is that fair? I know that they've been in the playoffs for several years, and I know that they've experienced disappointment and they might be pacing themselves, right? I think it's a good point that like they've still been committed to defense, which is something that they need to keep getting better at because that is the make or break point, right? They should be able to. They can score in a variety of ways, and I think they've done a good job of building out kind of diversity beyond Brunson. I think it's worth noting that Cat has been playing the best ball since he's gotten here, maybe when you consider the defensive end since the All-Star break. So, I mean, I'm pretty enthused. I do want to go back to this because you said you're concerned about Brunson. I think this has been floated a few times, but I saw DJ from Knicks Film School bring this up, talking about, Brunson's struggles on offense being related to, increased effort on defense. Do you buy that, or because you said you're worried, so that means that tells me that you think there's something systemic and it's not just it's a slump or teams are adapting and he needs to figure it out. But I'm curious to how you characterize that situation.
I mean, I've suggested that it's possible. Like I've said that before. I think it is possible that like him trying harder on defense means that it's going to take a toll somewhere. You got to pay the piper somehow. So if that means that he's going to be a slightly reduced offensive version, I don't know how to feel about that. Like that's a very interesting conversation to have. It's a very interesting how you weigh the trade-off there of like how good would the defense need to be to justify X percentage of an offensive decline from Brunson. I don't know, but I do buy that as a contributing factor. But I think the ankle is just the ankle, man. I think it's something's going on there. It doesn't feel like it's 100% correct. I don't think he's getting the separation that you normally see from him. I don't think he's blowing by guys off the dribble the way that you see from him, or forget the way you see from. Just, I mean, the numbers before and after that Kings game are pretty stark. But prior to the Kings game, so just excluding that, we can exclude that entirely. Let's just exclude it because it was fucking like 4 minutes or whatever it was. Brunson had played. Sorry, 1 second here. Where are we at? All right. Okay, I can't find this game. Okay, here we go. So leading up to the Kings game, Brunson had played. He had played 40 games, and he was shooting from the field 47.7% from the field, 38.4% from three, 54.8 EFG. He had averages of 28 points per game, 6.1 assists, 3.2 rebounds. Since that point in time, again, I'm not including the Kings game because that was literally 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Since then, the story has changed quite a bit. His first game back was that disgusting game against Dallas. So setting that aside, or not setting it aside, just counting that. Since then, 43.6% from the field, 35.2 from three, 49.9 EFG, and he's averaging 23.4 points per game, 7.2 assists, 3.6 rebounds. If we want to talk about this recent stretch of games he's had, let's just say since the, I don't know, let's call it the Milwaukee game, because he shot really well in that game. Since the Milwaukee game, still 43.6% from the field. This is 12 games. 43.6% from the field, 38% from three, which is good to see. But he's still 49.6 EFG. The averages are 23.4 points, 8.6 assists, 3.7 rebounds. It just feels like he can't get into a rhythm consistently as scoring the ball. He's missing a lot of the mid-range and floater, all those type of bunnies that we're used to seeing him make at high clip. Those have come down. And I don't think he's creating separation off the bounce, either on drives or trying to get to his mid-range the way that he has in the past. I also think there might be an element of like he is pacing himself, because it feels like he'll have these terrible games, and then in the fourth quarter, when you need him to kind of heat up, he can heat up. So is there something at play there where it's like he's maybe trying to manage himself through the course of a game, and to kind of preserve himself going into the playoffs? Maybe that's possible, but I can't deny what I feel like I am seeing from him over the last, 20 something games or so, or 30 games really, where I guess 27 in his case, because he's missed a couple, but sorry, no, 29. He only missed one just yesterday's. Sorry. But I don't know. It feels like a thing. It just feels like it's not as clean and consistent as we are accustomed to from him. And I don't think it's entirely just a matter of he's just missing shots or whatever. Like I think the way he's missing some of these shots is what's interesting to me. And the fact that I don't know that he feels confident in the ankle in some certain moves that he makes. In particular, just again, like getting into shots in the mid range, it feels like he's not, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to say he's not moving correctly, but I feel like he's in his own head a little bit, and doesn't have a clean plan of action sometimes. And that probably would be injury related to me, where maybe there are certain moves that we're accustomed to seeing him making to create space for himself that he's not capable or comfortable making right now. I don't know exactly what it is, but I would say this. I would say that if there becomes a point in time over the next 10 games where the Knicks are locked into a specific seed or something along those lines, I would expect to see Jalen Brunson get shut down for the rest of the regular season. That would not surprise me in the least. And I think that would be welcome because, yeah, I see what I'm seeing, and I see a player who doesn't feel like he's able to get to the same spots that he's used to getting to with the same amount of space he's used to getting it. I see a guy who on his three, it feels a little flat, not as consistent, obviously, as it has been historically. So I would, I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm not, ringing the alarm bells and saying we're fucked, but I feel like it's a thing. And we have to hope that Brunson can find the best version of himself prior to the playoffs.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely a longer stretch of some struggles. Are there any fixes you would have in mind, or things that you think that they should try more?
I don't know. If he's hurt, he's hurt. I don't know what fix there is to that. What fix is there? I don't see anything that. Yeah, I don't see anything schematically that I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like this. Like, if anything, I would just say like there some possession. I mean, the Nets game was its own fucking thing, but like, it feels like he's been on ball a little bit more than normal. But I also feel like that's probably because he's trying to hunt for shots to get himself in a rhythm. But I would like to see him get back into some of the off-ball, leaning more into some of the off-ball stuff we saw so frequently earlier in the season. I feel like he was getting better shot quality off of that stuff. And right now it just feels like he's searching and kind of trying to find a rhythm instead of letting the game come to him and finding his rhythm that way. But, a lot of it's just like, I don't know, like maybe if he's hurt, and it might not matter. It might not matter that I would like to see him off ball more or whatever it is. Like if this is the version of himself that we are going to get, then it is what it is.
Time will tell.
Yes, that is correct. Time will tell. Okay, well, moving on. The Knicks do have games remaining, like I mentioned. They played the Pelicans on. They play them tomorrow at the Garden, and then they have a trip to Charlotte on Thursday. Charlotte has been one of the best teams in the league, pretty much over since the turn of the new year, more or less. Um, since January 1st, the Pelicans are. Sorry, the Pelicans are. Sorry, not the Pelicans. The Hornets are 26-12, I believe. Is that correct? Yes, they're 26-12. They are number one in the league since the turn of the year in offensive rating, 120.4. They are sixth in defensive rating, 109.9. They actually have a better net. They have the best net rating in the league since the turn of the new year. Plus 10.5 net rating. After that is the Pistons at plus 9.4, then the Spurs at plus 9.1, Celtics at plus 8.6, OKC plus 7.9 at fifth, and then the Knicks at sixth with a plus 7.2 net rating. They're a dangerous team. They rebound the shit out of the ball, and they can score the ball effectively. They turn the ball over at a high rate. That is their Achilles heel. But this team is no pushover, and they are not soft. I think the way that a lot of people maybe would think they are just by viewing them outside. So I don't know. This feels like a very interesting game for the Knicks. I think it's a big matchup for the Knicks, and I think it's a big matchup for Jalen Brunson, who we just talked about a lot. But like offensively, he's not been himself for a couple months, I would say, and defensively, it'll be interesting to see where he's deployed against a team that feels one of the, again, one of the best offenses in the NBA, but also a starting lineup where feels like every one of those guys is a threat, especially the guys on the perimeter that one of whom Jalen Brunson will have to defend.
Yeah, no, I mean the Hornets are playing good ball. There's a lot of talent. They're the kind of team in terms of up tempo, athletic, that has given the Knicks problems. Or I don't want to say that because I thought they figured a lot of stuff out in the last Oklahoma City game. But yeah, athletic teams that are going to bomb threes and play fast on the nights when the Knicks maybe are, have their eyes farther ahead on the calendar. Those are the kind of games where a team just comes in and puts up 40 points in the first quarter. So, that I could totally see it being that kind of game. I'm very interested how they defend LaMelo. I am, because it seems like when they play bigger point guards with actual vision, right? It becomes tough. I think, we saw this. I mentioned this when we talked last. When they were trapping SGA, they were forcing him to the sideline, and he is not like a crazy processor. So they were forcing a lot of turnovers. Against Luka, one, they were doubling much more in the middle of the floor. But two, Luka is a great passer. So LaMelo is, he's not as good as Luka, and he's not as good as SGA, let me be clear. But he's a much better processor and passer. And he can exploit some of those things that the Knicks do when they send help. So how do they adapt to that? But that's the kind of guard that I think gives the Knicks trouble at times. Just attention to detail. Are you going to lose Kneppel? Are you going to, especially if you're putting Brunson on him, which I think would make sense. He's got to be able to fight through and, and stay with him through screens and contest well. And if he's hitting the shots over contest, then you got to come up with another strategy. Definitely was a fascinating game. They remind me actually of like a bizarro version of the Pistons last year, where the Pistons really were playing great ball at the end of the regular season. I did then, and I still attribute it more to that was a team that really wanted to establish itself, and nobody else gave a shit. And I give some of that to the Hornets this year as well. But I, it's a different version, right? The Hornets are a very strong offensive team. LaMelo's finally playing the way many expected him to. I think it's the kind of team that if the Knicks don't show up, and I kind of there's like a good part of me that expects them to like not invest that much into it. The Hornets are like the Knicks were in 2020, 21, right? You have been a not good team. Your reputation, you're winning more games. You get to take on a marquee team now, like the Nets did. I expect the Hornets, and that's another thing you mentioned. The Nets took it as their Super Bowl. This isn't even a Madison Square Garden or the Knicks thing. The Knicks are the 2 seed, and we take teams that are, if we play Denver or Oklahoma City or Boston, we're going to take that more seriously than we take Brooklyn or even Charlotte. So a lot of the times when we say, well, the Knicks are playing down other competition, well, I'm not saying Super Bowl is a wrong word, but against the Knicks, Oklahoma City, Cleveland, Detroit, these teams that are trying to establish themselves and get big wins, and teams often with younger guys trying to establish themselves and get some tape of them, like against a great team, I had a great game. If you're Josh Benott, for example, that's going to happen a lot more, right? And I could kind of see that happening against the Hornets. And I'll still say, to a certain extent, I think that was partly the phenomenon against Detroit. But that's not to take away from Charlotte as a team. And just the shooting and the way that the Knicks, when they've struggled, the 3-point defense has been hit or miss. It's been a lot better of late. I could see that being the failure mode of that game. Like Charlotte just gets really hot at the beginning. The Knicks come out slow, don't close out properly. The Knicks kind of chip away and maybe make a fake comeback, but don't quite get there.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly with Charlotte, so they've had a lot of impressive wins over the last couple months. They beat Oklahoma City in Oklahoma by 27 points, 124-97. That's a game, just to give context here. The Thunder were without Hartenstein. They were without Jalen. Actually, no, Jalen Williams played that game. So they were out without Hartenstein, but SGA played, Holmgren played, Jalen Williams played. Even AJ Mitchell played in that game. And, they got beat down. And this was in Oklahoma City. So that's super impressive win. They smoked the Lakers in LA. They smoked Denver in Denver. They absolutely destroyed Orlando. They have, they've crushed a lot of teams. They have a lot of impressive wins. They beat San Antonio in Charlotte, a game I remember watching, and like San Antonio really put the clamps on late in the game, which makes you wonder, to the kind of what we're talking about here was that the Spurs kind of taking them lightly, taking it easy. And then when they did dial it up, Charlotte really, really struggled to score the ball, but that was another impressive victory for them. They absolutely they beat the Rockets in Houston by 10. I watched that game. They could have won that game by 40. That was a joke. They were so much better than Houston that night. They dropped a game to the Pistons, 110-104. That was another interesting game, a game where Detroit got really, really physical with them. There was a fight in that game and everything like that. But they battled, they got back into the game late. They had a chance to tie it at one point. So this is like a team that, again, they've got impressive wins. And the main thing to me is if they catch you on a night where you're not kind of there, where you're just kind of hanging out, maybe you don't have your best effort, they can smoke you. They can smoke you, and they will smoke you. They have blown the fuck out of a lot of teams during these last couple of months. They have, in that time, they beat recently. They beat the Heat by 30. They beat the Magic by 19. They beat the Grizzlies by 23. They beat the Pacers by 24. Mavericks by 27. Bulls by 32 or 33. Sorry, 32. I can go on. Obviously, the OKC one stands out. They beat Denver by 23 in Denver. They beat the Lakers in LA by 18. They beat the Jazz by 55 points. I mean, look, granted, it's the Jazz, but the point is just this is not a team you can take lightly, and it's a team that you have to come out and be prepared for, because if you're not, they will light you up. And, personally, I don't think there's danger of the Knicks coming out of this game and just being like, fuck it doesn't really matter that much. Like, Charlotte, I don't know. I guess where they are in the standings is a little weird, but like, it feels like they're a team now that teams around the league are aware of like what they have become. I don't think they're you'd kind of look past them on the schedule type of team. Definitely not anymore. And I think the Knicks will look at this as a challenge. I think Mike Brown will want his team to look at this as a challenge and take this opponent very seriously. Needless to forget, or needless to say, sorry, but this could be a first round matchup for the Knicks. It's possible. If the Knicks get the 2 seed, Charlotte could play themselves well up into that 7th or 8th seed or something, maybe even the 6th seed in an outside scenario. So even if the Knicks stay at 3, maybe the Charlotte gets up there. But the point is, like, you could see this team in the first round. And that doesn't mean that you have to unload everything you have to beat them here. But I think it's probably something where you want to have a good showing. You want to, I don't want to say send a message, but you want to take this team seriously. You want to see this opponent seriously. And again, I don't think Mike Brown's going to go into all of his bag of tricks to get a win here, but I do think he will expect and coach this game seriously. I think he will coach it like it's a stakes game to some degree. And I think it's good if he does do that. I think this team probably needs to start getting back into the mindset of like these games matter. And I think the quality of opponent will help that. So I'm very, very excited for this game. I think this is going to be a great game. And I'm more excited to just see how the Knicks match up with them more than anything else. You're on mute, Stacy.
Yeah, the Hornets are 2 games back of the 6th seed, which is Atlanta at the moment, and 2.5 back of the Raptors. So only about 12 games left. Or for the Hornets, there are 11 games left. But they're certainly, I think the play-in is set. The Giannis Antetokounmpos are the 11th seed, and they're 7.5 games back. But I don't know. But I think he wants to retire, Buck. But he's open to new opportunities. But maybe he's not. But maybe he is. There's been a lot of clarity on that front. So I appreciate all of the diligent reporting on where Giannis is. I think with the play-in, there's going to be a lot of shuffling, and I don't think the Raptors or Hawks are safe either. But by the way, we should talk about the Hawks too, because they're 9-1 in the last 10 games, but there's been quite a bit of fluff in the schedule. But it is a team that has given the Knicks problems in the past, length and physicality. Jalen Johnson's athletic big. So we can talk about that afterwards. But yeah, I think the games remaining where you do want to tune up, right? And you want to make sure that you're going into this with you want to make sure you're hitting the playoffs accelerating, right? Hitting the ground running, not on a bad note. And in that sense, but you also don't want to go in, with a murderer's row, right? So the way I look at it, I think they've got a good mix of, games they should win, games that are challenging, and then games where they can prove themselves, right? I think that Thunder game is obviously still, to me, I'm not diminishing what you said about the Hornets. I believe that's a good thing, but we do get 3 games after that, or 3 days rest after that, right? To go to Oklahoma City, and then you get Houston. So that 3-game stretch, that's an important one. And then you get to, I'm not saying relax is the wrong word, but you have a couple games they should win. And then you get a couple games, where teams are getting in your ballpark, right? Hawks and Celtics. And then again, the Raptors are a good team, but they, frankly, the Knicks just match up well with them. I don't even know. By that point, if the Knicks have beat the Celtics, they might be resting starters. They get the Hornets again at the end of the season. Something tells me that the Knicks, for whatever for better or for worse, I don't think we'll be bad. I think that Celtics Knicks game, I just have a feeling, is going to decide the seeding, and we're not really in danger of falling to 4. So yeah, but I think it's a good mix of games that are, tough, and then you get some get right games, and then you have some games where you probably will mail it in but should still win. I think that's what you want. So I mean, I think on the floor, what are the things we can start with the Hornets, or just in general on the floor beyond just general like effort, specific tactics, rotations? I do hope they can incorporate Deuce. I'll say that. You mentioned Deuce coming back. If they can get a couple games with him on the floor again, just to get him some reps, you don't want him working his shot in on game 1 of the playoffs, right? So it'd be nice to and integrating and trying some more lineups that maybe they didn't try as much before he got hurt. But what are the things on the court? You mentioned the Hornets, you can go deep into that, but in general, like on the court, like specific things, what are you trying to see?
Like against the Hornets?
Against the Hornets, but also the last 10 games now. Like, what do you want to see on the court?
I want to see Brunson shoot the fucking ball well. I mean, I don't really know what else to say other than that.
Anything tactical or other players or?
Yeah, I would like to see Brunson and Mikal Bridges shoot the ball well. Other than that, I'm very happy with where everybody else is. I'm fine with everything else I'm saying.
Tactical lineups, all that.
I think Mike Brown's doing everything he's done. I don't know that you're going to get more things. I don't know that you need more things. I think you need your best player to play like your fucking best player. And you need your 3rd, 4th, 5th. I don't really give a shit where you want to rank him. Best player to play like at that level. That's it. Everything else to me is like, yeah, like this is not last year, right? This is not like I'm like, oh, like, man, even if everybody's firing, I don't know that like everything is in place for this team to win. Like if everybody is playing at like 90%, 95% of what they are, including Brunson, including Mikal Bridges, including Deuce McBride, if and when he returns from injury, the Knicks are going to win the conference. Like that's fact. Like that is a fact. They will win the conference if their top 8-9 guys are playing at the level that you expect of them. They will win the conference. If they are not, and in particular, if Brunson is not, if Mikal Bridges is not, they will not win the conference. I don't know who they will lose to. I don't know who would come out instead, but they will not win the conference. They need Jalen Brunson to step up and be better. Like that's like 95% of what I care about over the next 10 games. The rest of it is just fucking noise to me. Like, oh, the rotations and there's schematic stuff. Yeah, there's schematic stuff I'd like to see. Fine. Yeah. I'd like to see some more fucking Diawara. I would like to see Diawara screen more on the ball. I would like to see, I wouldn't mind if Mike Brown experimented and used Jeremy Sohan at the 5 and tried some lineups like that. Like all that can be true. I can think of fucking 50 other things I'd like to see. But the thing that actually matters is Jalen Brunson making shots. Like 43.5% from the field is not going to cut it, man. Like that's reality. That we are not going anywhere if Jalen Brunson is shooting the ball at 43.5, 35 splits. Like, I don't think I'm saying anything crazy or outlandish. Like, if your best player is shooting like average numbers at best, yeah, that's going to be a problem. Like, the only team that can overcome that over the course of, I'm not talking about, could the Knicks win a playoff series with Jalen Brunson shooting average? Yeah, of course. Of course they could. They could win 2 maybe. You're not going to win 3 and go to a finals and win a finals if that's not if that is how the percentages play out over the course of that entire time. But like, yeah, he just has to shoot the ball better. And I'm not, again, like if he's hurt, and I don't know what else to say. And like, then it is what it is. It sucks, but like, we'll have to live with that and we'll have to see how far we can go. But no matter what, he's got to shoot the ball better than this. Like, I appreciate the defensive effort improving a lot. I think he deserves a lot of credit for it. I think it's obvious that I don't know who or what, or I don't know who said something or what happened that triggered all this defensive turnaround, not just on his part, but on the collective team. But they need him to make shots. And like, that's all I give a fuck about this last 10 games. I there's no tactical fucking tweak that Mike Brown's going to throw in there. They're going to be like, oh man, if he does that, well, that's a game changer. Or like, there's no various lineup. Like, yeah, like, are there lineups I'd like to see more? Sure. I would like to see Diawara play more with like some of the more starter heavy groups. I'd like to see Alvarado get more minutes. I would like to see Deuce get minutes with Alvarado before the playoffs. That would be great. I would like to see that. But these are all, to me, like minor. They're small potatoes. Like they are not the thing that matters. The thing that matters is Jalen Brunson shooting the ball better, and to a lesser extent, Mikal Bridges shooting the ball better. The Mikal Bridges thing, I'm assuming it's not because of an injury. Maybe there is something that he's dealing with. I don't know. But I just think he's missing shots, and he's not playing confident, and he's second guessing himself. And so you want to see that turn too. But like, yeah, I can't really advance the question beyond Jalen Brunson because everybody else to me is playing close to, or at least a reasonable expectation of what they are. Alvarado's been inconsistent, but I think overall you'd be happy with what you've seen from him. And you'd hope that, okay, well, as he gets more reps in New York, gets more comfortable in New York, he will find that consistency and will be okay there. Like, you have to be thrilled with what you're getting from Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he's playing, like you mentioned, I think he's playing some of the best ball of his career, certainly the best ball of his time in New York. I think Mitchell Robinson looks fucking great. He had a little blip on the radar after the All-Star break when he was building himself back up after a week off, but like, he looks great right now. So I'm no concerns there. OG Anunoby, no real concerns. Josh Hart just needs to manage that runner's knee and be as good as he can be in terms of physical conditioning, but not worried about him. I mean, the concerns we have about Josh Hart we know exactly what they are, right? Will he remain confident shooting the ball when teams are daring him to shoot the ball? The best teams.
He's shooting 40%
we'll have
from
a good idea
now.
We'll have a good idea. They're playing Charlotte on Thursday. They're playing OKC on Sunday. Like, we'll have some answers to that question right away. With Landry Shamet, it's just like, okay, he will either hit shots or not, and that's what it is. Like, I don't have any concerns about the way he's playing or shot selection or anything along those lines. I don't have any concerns really about anybody else. I wouldn't even say I have concerns about Mike Brown right now. I think Mike Brown has come through this season after, the middle of it where I thought he was really struggling. At the same time, the Knicks as a team were struggling when they were 2-9. I did not think he was pushing the right buttons. I didn't think he was doing anything to get them out of the rut they were in. But I really like the way he's been coaching lately. I think he's doing a really good job. He's been flexible tactically and in terms of how he uses his personnel. We've seen him close with different lineups. We've seen him use different types of lineups to close games. We've seen him go centerless, right? We've seen them go double big. We've seen them go single big. We've seen him go with Cat at the 5 or Mitchell Robinson at the 5. Like, we've seen all the different variations I think that you could reasonably expect him to throw out there with the players at his disposal. We've seen him bench Landry Shamet to close games. We've seen him bench Josh Hart to close games. Like, he has done it all. So I don't really have questions about Mike Brown that can be answered in the regular season. Other than, like, my questions with Mike Brown will be answered in the playoffs. Do I trust him to make the kind of in-game moves, adjustments to move margins that can lead to series victories and things of that nature? Like, I have faith in it, but I don't know if he'll do it or not. I won't know until the playoffs. But yeah, the Brunson thing is the Brunson thing. Like, he's got to shoot the ball better. And I don't personally feel that his issues with shooting the ball right now I don't think they're on anybody else. I don't think it's about anything other than him. He either can or will do it, or he can't and or won't. And it's what it is. But would I feel much better if he started hitting shots at a consistent level over the next 10 games, especially given the quality of opponents they're playing? Fuck yeah, I would. I feel like I would like that for my peace of mind also, because watching him in some of these games, it looks not great. Like he looks slow. He looks like he can't quite get separation in places that he wants to. I thought the Brooklyn game was not a good look for him. And I think when he struggles, he has a tendency to push and press and look for his shot even more. And I think that can lead to even more tunnel vision at times. So, you know,
it's quicksand,
look,
right? Like Shane Falco, quicksand.
Yes. Like I can, and I have argued many times that like a guy like Brunson can have a great game even without shooting the ball pretty well, like or shooting the ball well at all. You cannot have a good postseason if you don't shoot the ball at a good clip. Like there's no way Jalen Brunson can have a good playoffs if he doesn't shoot the ball.
By the way, we'd say that about any player. The most extreme version of that is Steph. Steph can impact the entire game, right? By taking 5 shots just because of how much attention he draws, right? But if Golden State wants to win 4 series, or if they ever wanted to win 4 series, he needs to shoot well, right? I think that's on. I think they need to find Dominic, the guy who stole a bunch of pork rinds from Stu Leonard's, sit Brunson down in a room with Leon and a few of the other guys, and tell him he's been an embarrassment to himself and everyone around him, and he's weak. And maybe that'll wake him up.
His head in the toilet water.
It was disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's all I got for you.
That's right. So, and it's I don't know. It's also, I mean, I do want to say this, right? With like, I know like lots of Knicks fans. I forgot who said it, but I think one of the KFS guys was like, "Well, it's the dog days." No, I think it was CP. CP said it's the dog days, and people came at CP a little bit, not like disrespectfully, but like, you can't keep using that excuse. It's the dog days. Like, you can't assume you can just turn it on and turn it off. But it's a reality. And this is a veteran team that's been here before. And like, look, remember that season where they get to 50 wins, even though Randall's out, OG's out, Brunson puts the team on their fucking back, and it ended up mattering. You can say it mattered for our pride, and we loved that team and all that. It mattered to me. I'm not dismissing that. But if you're Jalen Brunson, and I don't think Jalen Brunson's issues, to your point, are a matter of effort, but you know, if you're Bridges or OG and you've been to these places before, you know, or Cat, or you know, some of the vets on the team, it just it is what it is. I do want to talk a little bit about Mo Diawara, because I think he gives us something. I don't know how big of a factor you think that, you know, the Pacers having, not just, I mean, Neesmith is a young guy, but you know, he's established, right? But even throwing guys like Jarris Walker, Benedict Mathurin, you know, some of these young guys coming out of nowhere to like really, like, you know, lower on the scouting report, but bring energy and some mismatch issues if you're not prepared for it. You know, that's one way a rookie can go. Another way it can go is, you know, Quickly's first 2 playoff series here, or first 2 playoff runs here, you know, didn't go well. And those are his only 2 playoff runs here. So with Mo Diawara, I kind of feel like he can be an X factor, might be overstating it, but like maybe a lowercase X factor, where, you know, that's the guy with the energy that, you know, when your team is lacking, or, you know, got guys in foul trouble, or you need you know, your offense is out of sync, he can come in and get things going, get you in transition. That's one upside. Another downside is to say teams actually pay attention to his 3-point shot, and he can't make them, or he can't get them off. Teams are ready for his drives and locked in, and he can't get any space. And on defense, you know, they'll give him a better whistle, so that maybe not be a worry. But you know, I'm curious. Do you feel like there's upside with Diawara? Do you think he's like, because there's no shame in any rookie playing poorly in the playoffs. But I'm curious, you know, because I hope he will get minutes, and I feel like he kind of has to. Not because obviously like a 10-man rotation is not that common, but they just don't have anyone else who's really a 4 in the rotation. They have OG, and you can go double big, but even if you go double big, you're going to need Diawara minutes, unless you plan on playing Huckborty, which I don't think they will or should. So Just as kind of a consequence of the roster, he's going to play. I'm curious, do you think he's going to be a playoff dropper? Do you think it'll be kind of the same? I feel like he's going to struggle to shoot that well just because I've seen so many young players struggle in their first playoff series to shoot well. The space is less, just a different level of preparation and flow. But curious to your thoughts there as well.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much from Diawara in the playoffs. I think, if he got minutes, that'd be cool, and I would be all for it. But trying to think of how to put this, but he's a rookie, and ultimately, like, how much can you actually expect of a rookie that was drafted 50th overall to deliver? You mentioned that, like, you've seen a lot of rookies struggle, because the level of preparation is different, the quality of opponent is different, the effort, the execution levels are different. And, I think we already saw this. We already saw a little bit of what's going to happen to him when we played OKC. He came out, started that game, I think, he had 3 threes, I want to say, in the first half. He was really good. In some ways, you could argue he was, the Knicks' best player or something in the first half. Or, he was among their best players in that first half of that game. And then in the second half, he came out, and instead of just leaving him wide open from 3, daring him to beat them this time, OKC clearly had gone on a halftime and been like, look, if he's in the game, run him off the line. And they ran him off the line. And he didn't know what to do. He had a turnover. He almost had another turnover. And then Mike Brown called timeout and pulled him out of the game. And I had a lot of people were complaining about that after the game. And I was like, no, that's a great learning moment for Diawara. That's also a great, if you are, we all do this, right? We all get very, very excited about young players in our team. And we start, when they have a really nice game, we start projecting oh, well, if he just does these 3 things, he could be such a fucking great player for us. And that's not to diminish that enthusiasm, because I have that enthusiasm all the time for young players in the Knicks, especially when they have a nice game. But it's also important to realize that the growth that we are projecting onto players, it takes some time. It doesn't just happen just because you're like, well, now that they're closing him out, now that they're closing Diawara off the line, now it's easy for him. Now he's just got to attack the rim and attack closeouts. And it's no, well, that's a different whole fucking thing. That's a whole different fucking skill set. It's not just one thing. It's not just, oh, I just attack closeouts now. And he's not some high flyer, right? He's not he can just get up there and dunk on whoever the fuck he wants. So it's a different equation for him. So I expect that to be a problem for him. We've seen fouls at times be problems for him. Turnovers can be problems for him. And I don't know how much of a leash you can give a guy in a playoff series, in big time playoff moments, that has those issues. When you feel like you have veteran options who are probably more stable, maybe don't have the swing factor, right, that Diawara has, where he's a bit of a wild card, right, come in the game, and maybe he changes it for you. But you have more known factors. I'm assuming Deuce is back, right? Deuce is a more known factor. Shamit's a more known factor. So
I don't know if is he competing with minute for minute, because it's Mitch, Cat, and OG in the front court. That's it. And if they're going to play Mitch and Cat a little bit together, which I think they will, Diawara should at least get 6. But I don't think it's really a question of him versus Deuce. You know what I mean? Because I don't think they're going to go super small with only one of those guys.
Yeah, I would assume not. But that's why the Nets game was interesting to me. Because it was weird, right? They played a lot, and I know Hart was out and whatever, but there was a lot of minutes in that game, in the first half especially, second quarter, where you had first quarter, where it was Brunson, Clarkson, and Alvarado together. And I was like, what is going on here? But again, that's a lineup we're probably never going to see that in the playoffs. Size will be more important, I think, in some areas. That's not to say you can't ever play small. I would never say that, but maybe not that small. And Diawara does have good size. That gives him a benefit. But you got to trust the guy. And as much as Mike Brown loves him, and I think he trusts him to a degree, that degree is not, oh, we're in, game 3 on the road in Boston. Let me throw Diawara out there. Like, I don't know that will. Maybe he does. Maybe Mike Brown will do it. I suspect that he will be much tighter on minutes with some of these guys. Like Clarkson and Diawara are really the two that come to mind, where I just feel like those two guys are very, very likely to see much less burn as we, get into the playoffs. And really over this next stretch of games against quality opponents, I would imagine that those two guys play less. One thing you got to give Mike Brown credit for is, he, after the game, who was it they played? After they played was it the Pacers? Oh, might have been after the Warriors game. It was after the Pacers game. But I think it happened because the Warriors game. He had a quote, right, where he was basically like, Clarkson has passed Mo on the depth chart or something like that. It was he didn't say that exactly, but the insinuation was like, it's up to Mo to like take the minutes, right? That Clarkson had jumped him in the pecking order, let's say. And since then, I think Diawara has responded really well. I thought he was, he got he had 19 minutes against the Nets. He had 8 points. He had 7 rebounds. He had 5 assists in that game. I just thought he played really well. I thought he played really hard. And, effort's not really ever been an issue with him, but I do think he had gotten a little bit wild in a couple of the games prior to kind of getting pushed on the depth chart. But he got 19 minutes against the Nets, and then he played 20 last night. And again, I thought he had a nice game, right? He had 12 points, 4 from 3. He had a rebound. But like, he's a little bit behind Clarkson. But the point is, like, that's how you respond. And, maybe he initially isn't in the rotation to start the playoffs. And then maybe because other guys aren't taking their opportunities, he will get a chance. That wouldn't surprise me. But I would pump the brakes and I would urge people to be cautious with any optimism of what Mo Diawara can do for us in the playoffs, because I suspect that he will not be top of mind for Mike Brown as far as planning out his playoff rotation.
Yeah, definitely not top of mind. But I am, just a thought, right? Is he going to be a playoff riser? That could be fun, or not just fun, but it's even independent of kind of what he can do on the floor. Some of it is just, it's the rookie jitters, right? I mean, go back and look at Brunson's first playoff series in Dallas. He was atrocious. So, there's a lot of different things there. The other thing I wanted to mention is it seems like Jordan Clarkson is back in the rotation. I think Brown said that he's ahead of Diawara at this moment.
I quite literally just said this.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I don't know if it matters, because to the extent that Clarkson and Diawara are competing for minutes, Deuce is going to get minutes over both of them. But Clarkson has been playing better. He has been playing needed better in games where they've been a little stagnant. The other guards have some shortcomings that only Clarkson really seems to address, right? Alvarado is not a terrific shooter. And he has some burst and he can get in, but he's not the most dynamic off the dribble creator. Deuce doesn't really create off the dribble at all. And Kolek, while he's a much better passer than Clarkson, against especially tougher opponents, you can see played great in the cup. Like, he can still find ways to be effective, but especially in the playoffs where they're going to let more contact go, he struggles to get to his spots, especially without a screen. So Clarkson gives you some of those things where, if you're maybe one of these junk lineups and you just need someone who can create a shot and, make it at a reasonable rate. do you see him having a role in the playoffs? I personally don't, but I did think that was interesting. That and part of it might be just Clarkson is a good vet. He seems to have a good attitude. He stayed with it. He got benched and got asked about it. He didn't say anything controversial like class act. I don't know who his agent is, but you want to maintain those relationships. And Clarkson, I think, is a well-known guy around the league, so you want to make sure that you're not creating any bad relationships there. But I wonder if there is some kind of a role, or is it more like against the Pacers when we just couldn't find offense? Finally, Alec Burks comes back in and suddenly he's shooting well, right? Is it a kind of break in case of emergency type? That I still view Clarkson more as that when we're at full strength. But I'm curious to your thoughts.
I'm not worried about Clarkson. First of all, he should not play in the playoffs. I don't think he's looked good. I want to just say this because I've actually been getting very fucking annoyed by this. He has not looked good in this stretch. He has not. I don't know what else to say than that. He can't blow by anybody. He can't fucking dribble. He constantly dribbles into situations that make no fucking sense. His defense is still atrocious to me. Is he trying hard? Yeah. I've actually never questioned his effort. I don't think it's ever been bad on defense. He's just not a good defender, and he's still not a good defender. Maybe his effort is better than it's ever been defensively. I don't know, but I don't think it's good. It's still not good. He's constantly still in the wrong place. He has a bad habit of fouling people for no fucking reason. He's not been that great. And I'm not hating on him at all. I actually really kind of like him. I appreciate his professionalism, and to some extent, maybe this is me hoping or coping, as some might say. I do think an element of saying Clarkson's kind of ahead of and putting him ahead of Diawara in the pecking order is more of a motivation thing for Diawara, a message of some sorts from Mike Brown towards his rookie. But Clarkson doesn't need to play. He shouldn't fucking play, and he can't fucking play in the playoffs. He will get embarrassed. He will get absolutely embarrassed in the playoffs if he plays. There's no question in my mind. And I appreciate what he's done for us this year. I appreciate what he's done in this little stretch of games where he's at least given us minutes and had some nice moments. But let's enjoy it for what it was, and let's not try to make it any more than that, because Jordan Clarkson is not a good defender. He will never be a good defender because he has never been a good defender. You do not become a good defender at age 33 just because now you're trying a little bit. And why are you trying? Why are you trying really hard? I'll tell you why. Because you want to stay in the NBA. That's why. Because you want to stay in the NBA and you want to keep getting your veteran minimum check for as long as you can get them. And he is making sure that he's a good soldier and that when he's out there, he is putting his best foot forward, whatever foot that is, and however good it may be. Maybe you need to ask Rex Ryan for his opinion on that. But, I appreciate it, but no, Clarkson cannot play in the playoffs. I would 100%, I would 1,000% trust Diawara in a postseason spot over Clarkson, if that's what it came down to. But I don't think either of them will be playing much in the playoffs. If anything, I would bet that they're basically out of the rotation if and when Deuce gets back. Because if you just start gaming out the minutes, I don't really know where they come from. You got three guys off the bench in your guards in terms of Alvarado, Deuce, and Shamet, who all expect to get minutes and should get minutes. And then you have Mitchell Robinson, and then you mix and match and figure out how you want to do it. Clarkson to me shouldn't even be in the thought process. He really shouldn't. I would not have him in the thought process. I'm cool. Again, I'm cool with Mike Brown giving him another opportunity when he chose to, because I think that's the type of thing that Tibbs never did, right? And that was really, really frustrating for us as fans. So Mike Brown doing that it's a good departure. But I am going to put my faith in Mike Brown knowing when to cut the bullshit. And I think he will cut the bullshit when they're no longer playing the Pacers of the world or the Nets of the world and teams of that ilk. So, Diawara is obviously just different to me because one, he's interesting. Two, he's an archetype that they don't have really aside from OG Anunoby in terms of like a big wing defender potentially. And we've seen him have good moments against quality players. And he's been a knockdown corner shooter. I mean, that does need to be said, that he has been an absolutely insanely good corner shooter this year. For the season, Diawara from the corners is shooting he is shooting 70.4% from the corners this year. Now, it's not a huge sample size. I'm not going to do the math right now, but I would guess it's only like 35 shots or something. But he's shooting the lights out when he gets those shots from the corners. And he's just a big, active, energetic guy that gives you, I mean, that in and of itself is more valuable to me than anything Jordan Clarkson could do in the playoffs. Really, like it really is that simple. So the Clarkson thing, I think it's part of being a head coach in the NBA that we all generally tend to underestimate or undervalue in terms of how do you keep buy-in, how do you maintain buy-in, how do you make sure the locker room's in a good place. And I feel like giving a guy like Clarkson, who's been a good soldier, who took his benching without complaint, I think giving him that kind of lifeline is a nice touch from Mike Brown. It shows a human element that I think at times Tom Thibodeau lacked in his coaching. And that's all I take it for. I don't take it for much more than that.
I mean, I guess going back to DOR though, do you think that the Knicks are just not going to play double big at all in the playoffs? Because I feel like if you do, it's tough to do that without doing DOR minutes. Like if you math it out, or you're going really small in some other lineups. You know what I mean? Because it seems like you'll need like at least like 6 or 7 or 6 to 8 minutes for Diawara if you're going to go double big. When I say double big, I obviously mean Mitch and Cat.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely play. They're consistently playing now. He's making sure that it's part of his rotation right now.
Right. So I guess my question is, it seems like you still think Diawara might not play at all. Like, how do you make that happen if Diawara doesn't play? Like,
I don't expect Diawara to play. I don't expect Diawara or Clarkson to play.
Yeah, so I'm saying it. So what I'm asking you is, I don't think the math in terms of the minutes, if you're going to play Mitch unless Mitch is going to play heavy minutes, like 30, I don't think you can play Mitch and Cat together much unless you play Diawara as well. Like, not with them, obviously, but to manage the minutes, because those are your only 3 bigs. And Diawara is not a 5, so.
I mean, why though? You could just play OG more.
I mean, you're going to play Cat and Mitch together. Oh, you're going to play OG at the 3, I guess? You're playing them a lot of minutes, I think, at that point. And then that's taking away minutes from the guards as well. I don't know. I think Diawara will get some minutes, but we'll see.
Maybe if he does, it's much more likely in the early rounds than it is beyond that. Like opening round series, sure, maybe, but I don't see him getting minutes.
To be clear, I'm talking about like 6 to 8 minutes to like give.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just don't think you get those minutes like if they're Detroit in the Eastern Conference Finals or Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals or Boston in the second round. Like, I just don't see how I would be I would be surprised. And Mike Brown surprised all of us multiple times, many times before. And he has definitely, like, I think the amount of minutes Diawara has gotten, he's played 544 minutes this year, by the way. Like, yeah. That's not nothing. For a 51st overall pick,
more than he would have gotten under Tibbs. So.
Right. But for a 51st pick to get that many, that much time on the floor on a good team, like an actual good team. This is not like, and not like when I say good team, I mean a team that's like has championship aspirations. For him to get that much time on the floor, that's a credit to Mike Brown as much as it is to Diawara. Because a lot of coaches, they might see everything Diawara is doing in practice and just be like, fuck it, I'm not really trusting that in the games. We had one. But like, I also, at the end of the day, like Mike Brown to me is like, he is an old school head coach in some ways. Like, I don't view him as like a mad scientist. Is probably the better way to put it. If he puts Diawara out there in a playoff spot, it will be because he fully trusts him in that moment. It will not be because he's just like, let me just try some shit. Like, let's see if this works. Like, I don't think that's the way he operates. So yeah, my inclination is that neither him or Clarkson will play. Maybe now, if Deuce is not back, let's say Deuce is back, but he's not 100% there, maybe that changes. But if Deuce is like, let's say Deuce comes back, I don't know, let's say Sunday he comes back against OKC, and so then he has that game and 7 more after it to get into a rhythm and build up his body, like build up his stamina. Yeah, I would be very, very surprised if Diawara is in the rotation at that point, or Clarkson for that matter. Like, I just think Deuce is that good. He is that important, and he is that skilled for this team that he reduces the need to dig deeper into your bench. At least that's how I see it. I am open to being wrong about that, but we will see when the playoffs start. So, looking at the broader picture of the conference here, FanDuel still has Boston as a strong favorite at plus 185 to win the conference. Cleveland is second at plus 270. The Knicks are plus 420 at third. The Pistons are plus 650 at fourth. Yes. The Pistons are plus 650 in fourth. I don't really, if you're going to waste money on anything, the only thing I would take after that is Charlotte plus 3,000. But other than that, I'm not going to get into the rest of it. One, I find this Pistons number very, very interesting because they should still finish with home court. They should still finish with home court in the first, at least to the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Cade is supposed to be back. Cade should be back by then.
He's supposed to be back, but there's never a timeline given. It was just like, oh, they're hoping he'll be back and it's all good. I kind of wonder if that's worse than they're letting on, or it's more. I mean, I guess it can't be worse, but it's more of an unknown, and that there's worry that he won't really be back until maybe like the playoffs. So what kind of, what can you expect from him? Obviously, that's a challenge to just come back in and step into the highest competitive portion of the season, just fucking play. So I find that interesting. But Boston at plus 185 is very interesting to me. I watched their game yesterday against Minnesota. I've watched a few of their games since Tatum came back. I'm just not seeing what I feel like. I don't feel like I'm watching a team that's like, oh, wow, this is the best team in the conference. And not only are the best team in the conference, they are easily the best team in the conference. They are clear. They are a level ahead of anybody else. I mean, if you wanted to be even kind of more
in the regular season.
Yeah. Even if you want to say like, if you want to, what I would say is even weirder to me is like, you could argue that the way that it's being priced, Boston and Cleveland are being seen as clear cut level above New York or Detroit. And I don't understand I'm not seeing that. And, look, we obviously care more and pay attention more to the Knicks than any other team. That's obvious. So for us, it's like, oh man, what's going on? Landry Shamet's missing a second straight game tomorrow. Like, oh, I hope his knee is okay. Like, Deuce McBride is, what's he going to look like? How much time is he going to get to ramp up for the playoffs? Like, Jared Allen is still out for the Cavs. Like, he's just been out for 2 weeks now. And I'm not Jared Allen's biggest fan, and we all know the lights can get too bright for him. But that seems like a pretty significant fucking guy to just not have available at this moment in time. And he's also not been fantastic or anything this year. He's been better since I got Harden, or at least when he was playing with Harden before Mobley got back. But I have a lot of questions about that team. But again, goes to bring it back to Boston. Like, I don't think I am watching a team. like Tatum has not come back and been amazing, which is to be expected. Like he is coming back from an Achilles tear faster than most people would have, most really anybody would have expected. And he's immediately kind of been thrust into high minutes load stuff. So Jason Tatum has played 8 games so far this year, and he is averaging in those minutes, he's averaging in those games. He's playing 29.8 minutes per game. So that's obviously below his career averages, but it's not an insignificant amount of time. And the numbers are, again, they're not good because you wouldn't expect them to be good, right? He is 38.8 from the field, 29.3 from 3, 46.8 EFG. He is 19 points, nearly 9 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Like, and their defense, their offense has cratered is probably a strong word, but it has fallen off since he's returned. In their last 8 games, so in the 8 games since Tatum came back, they have the 18th. They're ranked 18th in offensive rating. This is a team that's ranked 2nd for the season in offensive rating. They're ranked 18th since Jason Tatum got back. 114.6 offensive rating. They're still plus 4.5 net, but like the offense has gotten hurt, obviously, because you have a guy that requires usage that is not hitting shots and is trying to get into a rhythm. And maybe he finds that rhythm in perfect time and they go on this romping run through the Eastern Conference Finals or the Eastern Conference playoffs. I don't buy it. And I don't buy it because historically Boston has not been that type of fucking playoff juggernaut. They have not. They've won the championship. We know that in 2024. That year they were great. No questions. That team was fantastic. Did they get lucky in the playoffs facing a bunch of injured teams? Yeah, absolutely they did. But they crushed their opposition, and that's with Tatum shooting like absolute balls from the field for the entire playoffs. So, like, fine. That stands alone. Other than that, you are talking about a team that has underperformed expectations for a long time, and certainly has not played at the level that their regular season performances would often lead you to believe they would. 2020, in 2019-20, they go to the bubble. They lose to the Heat. They were heavy favorites in that series. They lose to Miami in that series. 2021, they lose in the first round. That was a weird year, whatever. 21-22, they go into the playoffs. Heavy favorite to come out of the East. They need, they have to go to Game 7 against Miami. They had to go to Game 7, I think, against Philly, too, if I'm not mistaken, that year. But they went to Game 7 twice against these teams that they were heavily favored against. And then they were heavily favored again in the finals and lost that series to Golden State. They, in 2023, heavy favorites again. They lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to Miami, who we lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals. 2024, they win the championship. 2025 last year. Massive favorites to come out of the East. Massive favorites to crush the Knicks. Crush the Knicks. I mean, this is like, I think the Knicks were 9-1. The Celtics were like 1-3 to win the series. Like, it was, this is like, should not lose the series. They were favored to win the series at 2-1 down going into game 4. They were favored to win the series at that point. They were going to lose game 4, regardless of Tatum getting hurt, and then obviously they lose that series. But what I will argue is this. This is my argument. I think Tatum's injury made people give them an excuse for losing to the Knicks last year, even though they were going to lose that series with Tatum healthy anyway. I mean, I guess we will never know, but 3-1 up, the Knicks are in a very advantageous position. We can say that at bare minimum. And because of that, they've gotten this pass of like, oh, well, it's a tough loss. What are you going to do? Tatum gets injured. That sucks. They choked again last year. This is what they do. They underperform in the playoffs. That's their MO. More than anything else, they underperform in the playoffs. And, underperformance is relative. They also are always there. They're always there, right? They always make the conference finals. They've been there fucking 5 billion times. But they have not advanced to the finals as many times as you would think they should. And even when they did in 2022, it was done in a way that was a slog, and it was kind of like, wow, like why was that series so hard? We're much better than Miami, but it took them 7 games, right? And then they blew the finals. But like, this is not to say that dismiss the Celtics, they don't matter or whatever. I have a lot more questions about this team than it seems the public do, than it seems the betting public do, at least anyways. And I don't even if Tatum is healthy, let's say Tatum is fully healthy, he's back to being Jason Tatum. Okay, your front court is still Neemias Queta, Nikola Vucevic, and fucking Luka Garza, and like you got Baylor Shireman getting minutes and Hugo Gonzalez getting minutes, who are like very try-hard, functional, regular season players. But, you know, this is a lot. It's a lot. And the depth of their talent is not what it was over these past 2, 3, 4 years. They don't have 7, 8 guys that you're like, oh, these are all plus rotation players. So I would not have them as a heavy favorite in the East. Personally, I think the Knicks will win the East. But at the bare minimum, I would say that these odds are way too spread out, and they should be much tighter than they are. At least between the top 3. Again, with the Cade injury is weird, so I don't know how to kind of bake that in. I guess the book is maybe struggling with that too, but there's no world where the Knicks should be plus 420 and the Celtics should be plus 185 and the Cavs plus 270. I don't buy that. I think it's bullshit. And the Celtics very specifically, I just think they're a very good team, and they've been a very good team for a long time. They have not been a dominant team. They have not been some juggernaut that runs through the conference every single year and comes out and represents the East in the finals. That's not how it's played out. They've made the finals twice in the last 10 years, which is 2 more than the Knicks, that's for sure. But, you know, that means 80% of the time they have not come out of the conference. I think that's worth mentioning because the way, you know, it's being talked about and the way people talk about them, you'd think that they were basically like fucking, like this is like LeBron's Eastern Conference dynasty or supremacy where he just kept coming out of the conference no matter what team he played for. They're not there. And they have not been there for a while. And as good as Jason Tatum is, I don't think he is such a dominant player that simply his return itself guarantees anything.
I mean, I think they're looking at it a few different ways. I agree completely. Like they shouldn't be almost 2.5 times more of a favorite than us. I actually will say I think Detroit is undervalued too. I think the Knicks are the favorite, but I think those 4 teams should probably be all pretty close. I think right now what you're seeing is the big names and the changes are being reacted to. So you can Cleveland, they replaced Darius Garland on what was already a pretty good team at the 168 games last year, and they replaced him with a player that's objectively better at everything on the basketball court right now than Darius Garland and less of a defensive liability, even though I'm not saying Harden's some great defender, but you know, you don't attack him in ISO the same way because of his size and his length, the same way you can with Garland. And then I think people are looking at this Boston team differently. You know, we've talked about, you know, they lost Drew, but Pritchard looks like he's improved. Jalen Brown, I think people are looking at him more like an all-NBA player now. And then with Tatum coming back, they're like, well, I mean, I think that's the logic, right? They had the 2 seed before Tatum. With him back, so do I agree with that logic, especially with respect to the Knicks? No, not necessarily. But I think that the Celtics, the reality is the Celtics overachieved relative to expectations this year by a lot. I think that,
yes,
you know, before the season, if you asked me, I would have said they were going to be in the play-in mix. And I would have also said if they're going to be in the play-in mix and they want to keep this going around Tatum and take another shot at a title, they might move Jalen Brown. I think you and I had discussed that in the offseason. Or not you and I. Like a lot of people have discussed, I think, move Jalen Brown, now that they moved Drew Holiday. So with that overachievement, I think that changed the level of base expectations for a lot of people. And then they're like, oh, well, now if you add Tatum, and that time with him off the floor kind of got them to gel a little bit better, got Brown to be a little bit more comfortable creating and pissing his pants, and doing well in the playoffs, playing harder on D, being more of a leader, then you might have something, right? And they have the pedigree, and Mazzulla is a great coach, so I get it. To be honest, like the Knicks were I think second or the odds makers favorite in the beginning of the season, and then Detroit is winning the conference, in the regular season. So it's not going to matter, Nobody gave us a chance last year. I think the Knicks are a better team than last year, and I do think the Celtics are worse than they were last year. Especially they're not. No one's counting the front court, but it also just comes down to matchups, right? The Celtics are probably going to have to go through the Knicks, and that's probably what odds makers are under counting, because I don't think it's very difficult for me to look at these two teams. Maybe it is if Brunson plays like an asshole or Brunson has a shitty series, maybe that's what happens. But looking at the front court, looking at the way we handled their wings last year for the most part, I mean, Tatum's last game was incredible. He had a couple of great performances, and it was tragic. That's overstating it, but really sucked that we couldn't see that finish play out because him and Brunson were going punch for punch. But we have the wings to match up with them. And we mostly got them to they missed a lot of threes, but we didn't give them a ton of great looks. And most of their looks came off ISO, and we were switching, and we're better equipped to do that. We have more perimeter. We added Alvarado. Deuce will probably play more. We have more answers for a guy like Pritchard. I just think the Knicks have way more answers in a playoff series. Whereas Boston, and that's what we saw last year. Boston kind of plays the same way. They want to get into the paint. They want to move the ball around the perimeter, run their beautiful motion. But if you just switch a lot and make them go one-on-one, I still don't think they can beat you in a playoff series, jacking threes and doing that, because they can't dominate points in the paint. The Knicks will. And if the Knicks are in foul trouble or something, they can also go to Brunson ISO ball, or they can go to Cat, or they can run more motion. They have a lot of different ways to beat you. And the Celtics, that's not a knock on Mazzulla. I just think the Celtics roster is limited in that sense. And then Cleveland, yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned it, right? Like, do you believe in Harden? I actually think that's overblown, and I think he'll have a solid playoffs. But I think we've seen kind of what happens with Cleveland. Do I trust Donovan Mitchell or Jalen Brunson even this season to win a game late? I trust Brunson. His decision making is better. Doesn't go on tilt as well. He has been more of his season, but I'll trust the track record. I think Cat and Mitch against those bigs, I like our odds. I can use OG as a chess piece in that series, in help defense, which I really think can muck them up. So yeah, I mean, look, like you said, if the Knicks, this is the Knicks, I think, playoffs to lose. But if it wasn't the Knicks, if it's not the Knicks, yeah, I mean, look, I've shit on Detroit a lot, but are they gonna be able to? Is Boston gonna be able to handle their front court? Is Boston gonna be able to handle Allen and Mobley even? Whereas both of those teams have the perimeter guys. Well, Detroit certainly does. But they have the perimeter guys to go at Boston as well, and Detroit has the defense that can also force Boston into stagnancy. So, yeah, I'll say, and we're a Knicks pod, so yeah, we're both probably a little bit biased. But based on those odds, I think they're being overvalued, and the Knicks being undervalued, and it probably all four should be at something like 250 or something.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think this is a good place to end it. Stacy, let the people know where they can find you and plug anything that you'd like to plug.
You can find me at StacyPadden89. Only thing I'll plug is, after the first weekend, you may have already seen this, but Prez put out a piece on some of the college prospects, most of whom are playing or were playing in March Madness, as a primer when you're watching these games to think about who might be a Knick next year, and some of the scouting reports on them. So definitely, I think there's still a few guys that are around in the tournament in that primer. And the Knicks probably will use their pick. Either they have one in the late first round, another likely really top of the second round. So they have some flexibility. So So I recommend that piece. And Prez on the draft is always great. So
Yes, it was a good piece. So I recommend checking it out, and I recommend watching some Morris Johnson and Zuby Ejiofor tape. Fun players. We had fun weekends. I have nothing to plug personally, so just check out all the work at the Strickland. Everybody's doing wonderful things. Other than that, that is our show for today. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope the Knicks have a great week. Challenges lay ahead, as we talked about. So very interested to see how they come out and compete. Thank you to our sponsor, FanDuel. And I'll see everybody on Friday. Peace.